Sup, you chucklefucks? It's your boy Dark Go here with What If Issei had the power of the Dragon and Shadow Monarchs? Part 1. Redo of this series. So yes, this series will be redo. I don't know how much time I have to redo it. Or maybe, yeah. But not the point. I wouldn't say that I had the best sleep last night. Not really, I only had like 3 hours of sleep. But not the point. Also, I am going to have to go to work. I think, probably. I have no clue. Mostly that's quite annoying, but not the point. So, let me just begin into this water before I kind of go to work and other things. But, let me begin. So, we'll begin into the what if. Also, before I kind of continue on, I wanted to put a community tab, but mostly my Wi-Fi wasn't pretty much working that well. And pretty much I just wanted to ask which of the series do you like from mostly the redos? Either this what if, the Spartan what if, or mostly, well, the Vassalor what if. Because I can see mostly a lot of people are really just watching part 6 of that what if. I think so. Wait, I don't remember how many people. So like a couple of, almost to 100 people kind of watching it already and like liking it with 17 likes or whatever. Which is surprising that a lot of people kind of like the video. Yeah, I never really asked for likes or blah blah blah, but not the point. Let me just go back into this what if. But yeah, I'm rambling on right now. So let me begin into this what if and let me explain what I mean about redo. So, just like just like the original kind of series, or mostly the series I did on this one, the what if. I think I did it for like 6 parts and then I stopped because I realized, well, I probably fucked it up in some parts. And probably I didn't like it that much. Well, he's still going to be overpowered. It's just, I just follow the storyline like I mentioned. Any like new anime what ifs I start on or whatever, I follow the story most of the time, the storyline, just to get used to it. Other than that, I would just throw in something else. But not the point. So let me begin into this what if. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin. But yeah. But we begin into mostly Issei. Well, not Issei. No. We begin into a battle between mostly a fallen angel named Kokobel fighting against mostly, well, a bunch of devils. A bunch of like devils, angels, somewhat, and kind of fallen angels. But not the point. Now, he is fighting against all these kind of different type of beings because he wants to start a war between all 3 factions, being the fallen, the devils, and angels. Pretty much a Christian kind of like faction. Other than that, probably he wants to also start a war with the other factions, but for right now he just wants to kind of get rid of the 3 factions. This is where, well, he's right now playing with the children. That's mostly, he sees them all as children because they're literally all children. Being around mostly 16, 15, or even 18, or even 17, but not the point. Some of them do have sacred gears because some of them are humans, but not the point. This is where before Kokobel decides to send a very like powerful light spear, something appears on top of mostly the, well, mostly dome. Well, it looks to be on top, but it's mostly inside it. A purplish kind of reddish portal appears. This is where something fell out of it in an instant, smashing down to the ground. It seems to have these like let me say that again. It seems to have these like lightish, kind of whitish, silverish wings. Actually fell out. He seems to also have bluish skin, which kind of blue with also whitish eye color. This is where, well, he had also kind of like white hair, but not the point. This is where, well, his clothing was basically that of like, it looks to be like clouds, or made out of clouds somewhat, but not the point. It kind of looked like mostly like a daimyo's kind of emperor's kind of outfit, mostly like in the Japanese culture outfit. But yeah, kind of looking like a kimono somewhat, but not the point. But for males, this is where, well, he gets up in an instant. His wings are kind of fluttering behind him, and of course, it doesn't seem to be even too much because it seems like a good chunk of the wings got ripped out. This is where, well, he has 2 pairs, or not even 2 pairs, he has like 3 pairs in an instant. And this is where he's growling in an instant, right now in anger and frustration. The portal that actually appeared was mostly like this reddish, kind of purplish color. This is where, well, everyone was confused, and it seemed pretty big. This is where, well, the figure itself seems to be at least 10 feet. Pretty tall. But this is where, well, he's growling in an instant. This is where he starts kind of making these, like, clouds appear in his hand. Right now, they're crackling with lightning. This is where he's growling and saying, I'm not going to die to an insolent weakling being lower than me. This is where he's screaming out in an anger instant into the portal. But this is where the portal disappears. This is where he kind of looks confused until he realized something. When he looked down, someone was already appear right in front of him. A boy with kind of reddish, mostly on top of his hair, and purplish kind of hair around near his like face, mostly like fangs. This is where, well, his eyes are complete different colors. One is red, but slick a little bit, and the other one is purple. This is where, well, kind of a darkish purple, and it kind of emulates mostly kind of this like dark, kind of sinister magic purple that actually goes around his eye. Even the red one kind of like has this like fiery power, but not the point. This is where he appears right in front of, well, mostly the figure, and this is where, well, the figure, well, mostly this person also has like a blue jacket on. This is where it's kind of burnt in some places, but he also wears like a black scarf with mostly a black kind of fingerless gloves. This is where, well, not the point. Both of his eyes just shines into the kind of like giant figure's kind of mostly eyes, and this is where the figure was about to attack this person until mostly this person disappears and then instant reappears right in front of this like huge kind of person and kicked him right in the face, launching him into the school building. Because yes, this is somewhere apart mostly from Kobo Academy. This is where, well, the figure lands down. He also does have black pants and mostly black boots, but not the point. This is where, well, he's kind of like looking at mostly surroundings and seems kind of curious and interesting. He realized that he's mostly back at the same dimension that he left a while ago, but that's not the point right now. This is where, well, he's looking around until he spots mostly two people that seems actually interested to him. The most interesting that he actually seen, and he shows to have a little bit of emotion because mostly when he was fighting against a giant figure, he had no emotion on his face. Mostly just like zero emotion, but not the point. But mostly he was showing zero emotion until he mostly spot these two kind of, well, people that he kind of hasn't seen for 1 year. They are his basically best friends, but he doesn't know if they actually remember him. But he doesn't care right now. He's still fighting the mysterious figure that's, well, mostly the other mysterious figure, the tall motherfucker. This is where, well, the tall person grits his teeth and says, I won't die to an insolent bug like you. You say, well, mostly this person says, an insolent bug, you say. Wow. You see here, I'm not even an insolent bug, but if you really want to die, then I'll give you the pleasure to die. He says with such a sinister grin actually appearing in his face. This is where, well, mostly the figure right now sends these like mostly thunderbolts of spears straight towards the person. The person literally just dodges, like appears in like in front of one of the thunderbolts, but then disappears in an instant, like he's doing like flash step. This is where, well, he then makes something appear right next to his like left hand, and it seems to be like this black kind of dagger. Well, it was a purple dagger until it became fully black. This is where, well, the person says shadow slash. Well, he first says shadow dash and then shadow slash. This is where, well, mostly he disappeared in an instant before any of the attacks smash into him, and then slashes at mostly the person near its neck, cutting his head off in an instant. Right now making the figure itself fall down to the ground. I should have mentioned that mostly the figure also kind of had mostly like a whitish crown on top of his head. This is where, well, the person looks down at the figure, and this is where, well, showing no emotionless on his face. Well, no emotions. This is where, well, he then turns around to look behind him, and this is where mostly a giant light spear was about to hit him. This is where, well, mostly the giant light spear was about to hit him entirely until he just catch that shit with just one finger. Literally just blocks it with one finger. This is where, well, the person yawns a little bit and says, what the hell is this? So interesting. He then grabs onto the light spear and kind of clenches his hand pretty tight to it, kind of letting go of this dagger, and this is where he crushes it, because he's kind of using his left hand mostly. This is where he just kind of like grips it harder until he fully crushes the light spear, destroying it in an instant. This is where, well, he looks at the figure who actually tosses it towards him. This is where it was none other than Kokobel, A man with kind of longish blackish hair, long kind of blackish hair, and of course mostly having reddish eyes, having palish skin, and having 10 pairs of wings. Does it wear well? Well, not 10. Not 10 pairs. Mostly 5 pairs of wings, being that of 10, but not the point. This is where well he kind of just glares at mostly the person, the figure, and this is where well Kokubil is right now kind of scared. Whoever the person that he was fighting, the giant blue figure, it was much more taller than well him, but also much more powerful. Everyone felt the energy from the person. It felt like he was some kind of king. This is where well mostly, if you want to be corrected, quite correct, it's actually called the Sky King, and he was just murdered and instant by this figure. It seems this figure is much more dangerous than anything, and Kokubil wanted to eliminate him fast but stealthily. So yeah, but of course seems the figure might be faster and stronger than him. This is where well the figure right now goes arise. This is where well he arises something from behind him. Something started appearing like well not to the behind but mostly to the left of him. This is where well the left of him starts kind of well appearing a shadowish kind of figure. This is where it seems to be like a giant ant. Pretty buff as hell. But this is where when the ant says, "Hello, my legion." This is where, well, this person says, "Can you please stop calling me that?" Whatever. Not the point. I have a mission for you. Eliminate that little shit up there. Eliminate that damn bird. That crow is somewhat of an eyesore to my eyes. Please get rid of it already. This is where, well, mostly the ant says, "With pleasure, my legion, I will eliminate the little shit out of the sky." This is where, well, he spreads out wings behind him, and it seems to be like bug wings. And this is where, well, he disappeared in an instant, disappearing from mostly the person's sight. The person doesn't seem to be even phased with the speed. But this is where, well, Kokubil on the other hand was widening his eyes, because mostly in the left side of his body, his arm was gone, his leg was gone, and 5 pairs of wings were also gone from his like left side. This is where he was screaming in pain right now, kind of falling down to the ground. This is where when he falls down to the ground, the ant appears right in front of him, having the leg and kind of arm and eating it. Of course, also eating the wings. This is where he tosses it away because he doesn't care that much. This is where, well, Kokubil right now is fearing for his life, seeing this like being appear right in front of him. This is where, well, mostly this ant just walking towards him. Kokubil says, "Stay away! Stay away!" He's sending multiple light spurts, but they're so weak that it doesn't even hurt this ant. This ant is made out of shadows, made out of darkness, and yet a light doesn't even affect him. He instead just smacks it away like what I care in the world. When he gets close to the mostly crow, the crow that has fallen, he grabs him from the head, and then it's mostly from the hair, and just slices his throat off. This is where he takes the head and then kind of brings it towards the legion and saying, "My legion, I have brought the head, well, the decapitated head from the weak, pathetic crow." This is where, well, mostly the figure seems to be just on his phone for a second. Yes, because this person does have a phone, not the point. But this is where, well, mostly the figure says, "Huh? Oh, you're finished? Also, why the hell do you keep bringing me the head?" Not the point. Just tosses it somewhere or something. Yes, my lord. This is where he tosses it in the trash can. This is where, well, mostly he decides to go back into darkness and shadow and goes underneath this person. This person is right now texting something and kind of wondering if this call actually works. This is where he hasn't been here mostly in this world in basically a year. It's actually been a year since the last time he has been in this world. He's been kind of fighting, destroying, and mostly, not conquering, but mostly beating the shit out of things that seem to surpass mostly a lot of beings in this world. But not the point. This is where, well, he sighs and says, "Oh, well, I should probably be getting home. I wonder if they still live there. If they still do, then maybe." This is where he has a question mark appear on his face. So this is where, well, he pulls out his phone, realizes he has no what's it called? Mostly internet kind of connection, and realize, yeah, he has been here, well, hasn't been here for a year, so his parents probably disconnect this shit. This is where, well, he doesn't care, and decides to kind of start walking away. But before walking away, he kind of noticed the 2 figures that mostly are considered his best friends, well, mostly a year ago. Now he doesn't even know if they're still considered his best friends. This is where, well, the person sighs and decides to start walking towards mostly the group kind of group's direction. The devils, angels, fallen angels, they all kind of tense up in an instant. This figure looks quite handsome, but at the same time, quite menacing and scary. He's much more powerful than half of them. This is where one girl with reddish hair gets kind of excited because mostly she wants a strong pawn, but she doesn't know if this person will be willing to be her pawn. But yeah. But this is where, well, we go into mostly, the person kind of disappearing from mostly all the devils and fallen angels, even some the angels and exorcist kind of eyes, and mostly Ivy, because mostly he disappeared in an instant, appearing right in front of mostly a guy who kind of has blackish hair that looks to be kind of shaved a little bit, but mostly started growing back to be a little bit taller, like in kind of half inch, but not the point. This is where, well, the other person has the longish blackish hair, has glasses on, but this is where, well, he kind of has like the scientist coat on, while the other one kind of has like the mostly a black tank top and mostly black kind of pants that are kind of baggy and black shoes. This is where both of them gets on guard. This is where, well, before anything happens, mostly the person looks at both of them with a curious look in his eyes. This is where he then grins for a second and says, "Murahama, Matsui, it's been a while. How shall I say? It's been a year, hasn't it, since the last time we saw each other." This is where, well, the person said. This is where both students, well, mostly both children slash students slash mostly the friends of this person right now tense up in an instant after realizing this person knows their names. Now, they're not super big in the supernatural, but they're just winding their eyes realizing that this person knows them. And yet, they don't know who exactly this person is. This is where, well, the person sighs and realizes that mostly they seem to not know him. This is where he thinks it's probably because of the reddish hair, the purplish also hair, and mostly his eye color being different. This is where, well, he then sighs and decides to also kind of change his hair back to normal. This is where he used a bit of magic to kind of change his eyes to a brownish kind of goldenish color, while his hair becomes a brownish color and becomes longer, the same length from 1 year ago, because mostly it's the same kind of like hairstyle right now, like this one in the thumbnail, when he actually before kind of changing his like structure of hair. This is where, well, he has kind of this brownish kind of longish hair, and this is where, well, it's no longer slicked back, and this is where the person grins at them with a very small little smile to see the reaction. When both Matsu and Murahama looks at this, they both snap in an instant. Well, not snap in an instant, they both look confused for a second, looked at each other, and this is where, well, Murahama then takes a closer look, seeing mostly this person, and this is where his face, right now, it just drops down to the, well, ground. Even the other person. This is where, well, when they both look up to mostly this person, they scream out, "Issei!" This is where they scream out Issei, but before jumping on to hug him, because they have missed their kind of friend slash brother. But this is where, well, they actually stop themselves because they realize how powerful Issei is. Because Issei just changed back entirely. Issei says, "Yeah, you idiots. What? Did mostly my brownish hair, that was mostly the same structure. Couldn't really tell you anything. Mostly, well, it did change a little bit. But that's not the point. Issei did change his hair back to normal, his eye color back to normal." This is where both of his friends say, "Still, how did you change so much in 1 year?" That's still not the point. Also, why is your hair different colors and also your eye colors? And also, how are you this strong and powerful? And what the hell is that shadow soldier? What is happening? This is where, well, Issei chuckles and says, "Oh, you want to know all that? Well, I can tell you about my hair color and eye color. They change considering the power I kind of behold mostly. But that's not the point. Also, you want to know what that shadow figure was?" Issei said, "Oh, so you do. Okay, then I'll summon him and you guys can fight him." This is where both of them widen their eyes and say, "No. Issei said, "Arise." This is where a different shadow ant kind of appears, mostly a shadow soldier, but it's mostly like a weaker version than the actual other one. This is where, well, Issei has an evilish grin and says, Go attack them. Don't hurt them, but mostly attack them. This is where mostly falsely attacked them. This is where Issei kind of winks at the ant. The ant understood and right now rushes at it both supposed to come up to Murahama. This is where both of them wind their eyes to say, wait, we were joking. We are not wanting to fight him. This is where they're trying to run away, trying to dodge the swings, and of course this is where they're confused a little bit, but they're still kind of scared because when they saw that ant, yeah, rip through that fallen angel, which they couldn't even do jack towards it, they are scared. They're really flipping scared of that mostly ant appearing. But the ant doesn't seem buff like the other one. Instead, it seems kind of scrawny and less powerful in magic dense. This worked well. Issei says, keep running, guys. You guys are doing good. This worked well. Mostly Issei just trolling at this point. This worked well. He then looks to the side of him, mostly behind him, and sees the devils, fallen angels, and mostly exorcists, and some other species, but he really doesn't seem to care. This is where, well, he noticed a pinkish hair girl, but mostly also her friend with brownish hair, and decides to just ignore them entirely. This is where, well, Issei decides to tell the ant to come back, which the ant decides to do by disappearing and, of course, coming back towards Issei's kind of shadow. Issei says, what other than that? I'll be going, guys. I'm going to see my family if they're still here. If they're not, I'm just going to go get a hotel or something. This is where, well, we'll see his shadow so that the ant appears kind of right next to him and says, my legion, I will find the perfect house for you. The perfect living space for you. This is where, well, mostly Issei sighs and says, Beto, can you stop? Never mind. This is where, well, mostly Issei right now disappears in an insane by kind of just jumping on the air. Literally just jumping on the air like if mostly there's like steps or mostly parkour for him to jump on. But he's literally just jumping on the air and disappearing in an instant. This is where he's kind of just running in there, but don't worry about that. This is where, well, mostly all of them wind their eyes with just confused and shocked. But we go into mostly a POV of Issei getting towards mostly a specific house. A house that was called 6969. What, not 69? 69420. That was literally the address, not the point. I don't know. I don't even know if they have an ad, if they ever like showed the kind of address where Issei kind of lived. But probably did or probably not. I don't care. I'm just gonna say 6924, or mostly not 24. 420. You want 420? 420 is the number of where he lives, but not the point. This is where, well, when Issei gets to the house, he knocks at the door and decides to wait. This is where, well, a person opens the door, but this is where she kind of has this like somewhat emotionless look, which made Issei kind of flinch a little bit. But this is where, well, he then sighs and kind of says, hello there, mother. This is where Issei said, with a casual tone, like if he was talking about the fucking weather, or like if he's coming back from school, whatever. It kind of just sounded like that. This is where, well, mostly the person kind of looks at Issei confusedly, and this is where, well, Issei sighs and uses a bit of magic. He will explain everything later, but pretty much he used a bit of magic to kind of change the features, which mostly when this person, well, mostly closes her eyes and reopens them, she now sees mostly her baby boy. This is where she jumps onto Issei and cries on Issei's arm. This is where an older man kind of walks through the door and says, Mika, what are you? This is where he sees also Issei. This is where, well, they both jump on him and start crying like mostly a happy family just reunite together. Mostly, reunited together. Just like if mostly their son just went to the military and they didn't see their son thinking that he died or something. That's what it kind of feels like. This is where, well, they are crying there for a good couple of hours, which mostly Issei, he's kind of just smiling the whole time. And this is where, well, Issei isn't really crying. He's just happy to see his parents still alive and happy to see that they're not really doing what not happy, but mostly just smiling there. Yeah. This is where, well, mostly they bring Issei up, mostly into the house. I should mention one thing, Issei's height did change. He's no longer being, well, mostly 5'7", mostly, or not 5'7", 5'6", because this is when the last time he was in Kuo, he was somewhat of a first year. Now he's a second year, considered to be a second year, but he's now being like the height of 6 feet. Like, not 6 feet, I'm gonna just say it's like 6'2", he's quite tall. This is where, well, they kind of talk to Issei, wondering where he has been and other things. Issei sighs and decides to show a bit of his memories. Use actually mostly a power bestowed upon him to actually show his memories and where he has been. Not through gruesome parts, but mostly talk and where he has been. This is where when his parents see the memories, they seem kind of just dumbstruck and also the fact that mostly their son has went through so much, has went through so many battles just to protect this mostly dimension, has went through so many fights against rulers, kings, monarchs, or anything entirely. And this is where, well, they are just happy to see him. And of course, they actually see his actual true appearance, which they're so shocked. And of course, they kind of get dazed in mostly Issei's hair. Issei's hair is just completely, just mostly really amazing to stare at most of the time. His reddish kind of orangey hair kind of is hard not to kind of stare at. But also his purplish bangs is pretty damn hard. There's dark bangs, but they're dark purple bangs, but yeah, not the point. His eyes are pretty also hard to not stare at because mostly they're both different colors. One is a kind of a reddish color, like a scarlet red color, while the other one is actually like an amethyst purplish color. A very dark amethyst purple. No, not the point. They're kind of crystallized, but not the point. They're similar to like Gojo's eyes, but not being blue, okay? This is where, well, Issei kind of just, Issei kind of just like smiles at his parents, which his parents just smile back and are happy to kind of have him back, but mostly they're just not wanting to let him go back into mostly the dimensions that he has been fighting. Which Issei just explains also that he really doesn't need to go back into the dimensions unless mostly monsters or demons or whatever decides to appear in this place, which he might have to go back, but he doesn't know how long with the other kind of different race might come to this world. Since he has a very powerful energy signature, he's going to have to suppress it. Which he doesn't really mind living as a normal human somewhat, with powers that are suppressed, but not the point. This is where, well, he smiles at his parents, just kind of giving them a little bit like artifact kind of necklaces. His mother has a amethyst darkness necklace, while his father has a scarlet kind of ruby necklace. This is where both of them has different types of powers. One has a shadow powers, while the other one has dragon kind of powers. Yes, he also did explain that he's none other than the shadow and dragon monarch together. There was some kind of incident that he didn't really understand, but mostly it seems that mostly something that was called an administrator was kind of pissed at the fact that the shadow and dragon monarch fucked up mostly a place where he lived in the dimension, which mostly cursed both the dragon and shadow monarch when they died to get reincarnated into a human or whatever, into a weak species. The administrator never expected, well, the weak being, that being a human, to become one of the most powerful and terrifying beings in the different multi-universes. But yeah, but not the point. This is where, well, he wasn't also expecting that another administrator was actually helping them to have a system. Yeah, mostly you say that had the system, but he still has the system, but he only has it just to kind of help him out with lowering down his power, but not the point. This is where, well, he tells his parents that mostly those two gems, one of them, the ruby scarlet red necklace, kind of has draconic powers, and was like help mostly Goro get away from anything, or like help him boost up and other things to kind of like get away from situations from other supernaturals or anything. And of course, we'll summon out a dragon just in case if anything happens, a powerful dragon. Of course, for his mother, it's a shadow being. Mostly a shadow being like a general will actually protect her. It wouldn't be Beru or maybe the others, like his special kind of like generals, but that's not the point. It would be like another kind of general, mostly like tank, because there's actually a ice bear that he has, a shadow ice bear that's actually like general level, and of course it has its own kind of like soldiers, being like shadow bears, with also kind of being like ice bears or just panda or don't worry, whatever. This work well. Mika is happy to believe her son is so powerful and yet trying to protect him at any case, any cost, and of course willing to sacrifice a bit of his power to protect him, which they're just glad and happy to have him back, and glad and happy to see that he's powerful and amazing in every kind of possible way. Also, this magic, mostly the necklaces, do have the magic to resist any other type of being trying to remove them, or also trying to manipulate, control them with magic. But yeah, it has a resistance. But yeah, when they're wearing it. This is where, well, mostly they're just happy to see their son back. And this is where, well, Mika then coughs into her hand and says, Issei, are you going back to school then? This is where Issei switches off and says, yes. Issei said with a very quiet kind of yes to himself a little bit because, well, he doesn't really feel like going to school. He has been in so many dimension fights and battles that would have actually close to mostly being deaf or mostly dead in some of those battles that he really doesn't feel like going to school. But this is where his mom kind of looks at him and kind of looks into his eyes, mostly his deep kind of one purplish dark amethyst eye with his other one being kind of scarlet ruby red. And this is where, well, she then sighs and says, you don't seem to be wanting to go back to school, do you? No, not really. But if I have to, I guess I'd rather go there just to see, well, Matsui and Monohama. This is where, well, mostly they both sigh and nodded, and mostly the reason they still want to go is not the reason they actually hope for, because mostly Issei is still enrolled into Kuwa. He just went missing a while ago, but they haven't actually removed him. But this is where, well, they're just hoping that Issei wasn't going there just because of friends, but mostly to find a girlfriend and actually kind of bring them grandchildren, because they would not mind having grandchildren that kind of had the same color of hair, mostly their son, and eye color, which they do not mind just little Issei's kind of just running around. But yeah, this is where, well, Issei swatch off and mostly their kind of antics and mostly their head, because Issei can read about a little bit into their mind, because he actually stole a power from someone that actually can read minds, but he doesn't really use these multi-mind reading techniques too often. Reason why is because some people are disgusting as hell and he just doesn't want to. He only uses the read mind technique just in case he wants to read the opponent's moves in battle. But yeah, because it's quite helpful. This is where well to know your opponent's next moves without them even realizing it. But yeah, but not the point. Issei kind of just sighs and says, yeah, I'll be going to school then, tomorrow. I don't have any clothes that actually fit me because I'm now 6'2" and no longer 5'7" or 5'6". So, yeah. I'm gonna just be wearing my mostly clothes. The clothes, you probably seen in my memories. Listen, well, his mother says, I mean, we do not disagree with the clothing of fashion. But can you at least kind of be more colorful, like the what's it called, jacket that you're wearing right now? This is where Issei sighs. Issei sighed and kind of just said, "Sure, mother, don't worry." Because the jacket that he's wearing is a bluish color, mostly like a very turquoise kind of color, like lightish aqua blue. And this is where, well, his mother doesn't disapprove the mostly clothing and fashion that he wears in the different memories, because he was wearing like a black kind of coat with a white shirt, or mostly a black button-up shirt, and of course like mostly a black pants or whatever. And of course I had different memories. This is where but we go into mostly Issei the next day, because it is kind of already the afternoon, the next day to go to school. Which he goes to school wearing mostly a black trench coat, or it's not much of a black trench coat, but it's a black coat that's kind of long, but not the point. Mostly a white kind of button-up shirt. Well, mostly it's kind of a reddish kind of white kind of button-up shirt, but not the point. This is where, well, he also has mostly the red white button-up shirt kind of has like a red, mostly the red is kind of like a dragon symbol, but not the point. This is where, well, he also has what they call black pants, and this is where black kind of boots. This is where he's walking to school. What a care in the world. This is where when he gets to school, so many people are almost dropping dead in how freaking amazing Issei looks. Most girls are kind of just liking his hair color, because they think, well, first of all, people thought that literally he's dyed his hair, but it's truly natural, because a girl kind of asked Issei if mostly his hair color is natural. Issei nodded saying, yeah. Don't ask about the orangey red and mostly the purplish color. Just know that's mostly natural and it's quite annoying. It could be an eyesore, sorry about that. That's why, well, he said, what a care in the world. of course, kind of emotionless. And this is where, well, his eye color was also different entirely, which people has never seen that kind of eye color. But then they think about mostly Sona and then Rias and how they kind of have different eye colors, which they're not like humans, but still it's kind of amazing, which they think is kind of rare for humans, but not the point. This is where, well, there's other people, but not the point. One of his eyes, mostly his left eye, is basically a dark purple, while his right eye is basically what's it called? A orangey kind of red, mostly scarlet ruby red, and they're kind of crystallized. This is where, well, Issei is kind of pushing his like hair backwards and kind of walking into school. This is where, well, people are just so dumbfounded, shocked, and amazed. Guys are just thinking that Issei is literally like a punk or something because they think that he's like some kind of delinquent. And some girls think that, hell no, even though he might be delinquent, he still looks kind of cool and amazing. But they don't even know this is literally Issei, one of the perverted trio. Even though the perverted trio was disbanded a while ago, like a long time ago, because they haven't seen Issei for a while, they also have seen mostly a change between Morohama and Matsui. They're no longer perverts, but mostly one's a scientist and the other one is mostly an athlete. This is where, well, when the person is walking into school, so many people keep staring at him, either guys or girls. Because guys thinks that mostly he's going to take all the girls from the school and literally make the biggest harem, which mostly people just don't really disagree, but still they kind of get angry, a little bit jealous just thinking about it. And this is where, well, girls think that they actually want to be in his harem. But this is where, well, Issei doesn't really care. He actually doesn't have the same opinion from like mostly a year ago to have like a harem because he doesn't really care. Here he has a couple of people that he likes, but they're not in this dimension. But not the point. This is where, well, Issei is clearly just walking, and this is where when he gets to the student council's room, he knocks at it, and this is where, well, the student council kind of says, come in. This is where when Issei walks in, Sona was dumbfounded, surprised, and mostly kind of blushing a little bit. This is where, well, she was kind of almost turning all red for mostly the clothing of Issei, which is not bad, but it's still not the school uniform, which she was holding holding her blood back so it doesn't have a blood nose. But not the point. This is where, well, she kind of looks at mostly Issei and kind of says, Mr. Issei says, the name's Issei Haidu. Issei kind of pushes back his hair a little bit just so his bangs doesn't fall on his face. This is where, well, mostly Sona was dumbstruck, dumbfounded, and yet she remembered the whole battle between yesterday. This is where she nodded slowly and says, Haidu, do you not know about the school? This is where, well, Issei says, before I let you continue on, I haven't really been here for 1 year. I've been on a vacation, you can say. Well, kind of. But not the point. So since I haven't really been here, I don't have the school uniform because it doesn't fit me no more. I'm already 6'2", yeah, 6'2". And last time, if you can remember, I was 5'6". So yeah. This is where, well, Sona nodded dumbly. This is where Issei noticed a chessboard, like, near. Issei says, still, how about this? Issei said, how about you let me wear whatever if I beat you in chess? That's what Issei said. But mostly one of his eyes closed and he's just showing his darkish kind of amethyst purple eye towards mostly Sona. And this is where, well, mostly Sona kind of blushes and kind of didn't really cross her mind on something about the chess game and decided to just go along with it. She thinks that she can beat him and of course make him wear the school uniform. We go into literally only 10 minutes later and Sona lost. She lost so bad, well, mostly so hard that she was dumbfounded, dumbstruck, and just confused. And mostly the battle between her and him, well, not even 10 minutes, literally 5 minutes, because Issei defeated her quite easily. He's much more smarter, much more of a battle strategist, because of mostly the soldiers that he controls, but not the point. He is just out of her league entirely. This is where, well, even though he never played chess, he basically only understands the basic kind of theory of, mostly not theory, the rules of chess, because it's similar to that of shogi, that he has played a lot with his shadow soldiers, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly he has played with mostly Icarus, because Icarus is mostly the smartest one, or even one of his other generals, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei is kind of just looking at Sona and saying, what good game. Issei kind of like puts his hand in front of him, which Sona takes it with a very shaky, kind of sweaty hands, but Issei didn't really mind. Of course, grab her hand and let her kiss it. This is where, well, Sona's face almost became entirely red. Issei says, well, other than that, I guess I'll be wearing whatever I want for mostly the school year. And yes, I'll be saying school year for mostly second year. I don't know if I'll be coming back in a third year. But other than that, it doesn't matter. Well, bye. Also, I still need my schedule before Issei was turning back around to get the schedule. Sona nodded dumbly to get Issei's schedule and kind of like give it towards him. This is where, well, Issei walks out the door. And of course, well, he's about to bump into mostly a girl with kind of bluish hair. And of course, yellowish eyes, bluish eyes. And this is where she seems to be quite tall than normal girls. She's right now to be like 5'10". And this is where she's still kind of smaller than Issei. And this is where, well, she was about to bump into Issei, which Issei managed to catch her just in case. Because she actually tripped in an instant. But of course, when she looked up, her face became entirely red and instantly. Issei just looks way too good looking. He can turn any literally straight man gay. No, I'm just kidding, but for real. No, I'm just kidding, bro. Let me just go into the weather, okay? But we go into mostly Issei kind of just like putting her down, mostly just standing. And of course, Issei walking away. He's getting towards his class. This is where, well, he remembers the first class. He just doesn't remember any other classes. He's been in, well, not first class. He just doesn't remember any other classes since mostly last year, first hour, but that's all. Since he has been way too much in different battles and dangerous fights, that he really didn't have time to remember anything what happened to, well, mostly his first year, which he doesn't care too much, but yeah. But we go into Issei, kind of just mostly walking to his class, knocking at a door, and this is where the teacher says, yes, come in. This is where, well, mostly the teacher, not at the he, it was at her, and this is where, when she says come in, Issei walks into it, and this is where, well, mostly the teacher just seems to almost have a blood nose entirely, because mostly the student that came in, this is where she says, wait, are you a second year or a third year? This is where, Issei says, sorry, if my appearance looks different, I am a second year. This is where Issei kind of bows down, quite gentleman-like, a little bit. But this is where, well, Issei still didn't care too much. But this is where, well, every girl that saw him right now almost had a blood nose entirely. Two girls kind of looked at Issei, widen their eyes because they remember what happened yesterday, and kind of just looked at Issei kind of coming back into school. This is where two guys look at Issei because, well, one of them weren't really paying attention towards the school, or mostly the class, because the class was literally English literature, and both of them weren't really paying attention. Well, one of them was, kinda. He was basically watching, mostly a battle in his phone, like a fight and other things, while the other dude was kind of like reading on signs, like multitasking someone, mostly reading on English, but not much. He already finished the English book, he's just reading more on signs. This is where, when they look up, they were widening their eyes to see mostly their best friend, which both of them says, Issei! This is where, or they didn't really scream at Issei, but mostly Issei kind of says, my name is Issei Haidu. Not the point. I'm actually a student that actually came here last year, so yeah. Well, last year before disappearing, and a year ago, or mostly second semester? I can't remember, fuck. But not the point. I just kind of went on a vacation to see my grandparents out of state because mostly my depressing time for my grandparents dying, which is not entirely a lie because his grandparents did die, but at the same time at that mostly same time of he disappearing or leaving, he mostly did also awaken his powers to kind of go into different dimensions, but not the point. This is where, well, and train and become one of the strongest beings, but not the point. This is where, well, people are just shocked to hear and see that this is literally Issei Haidu, one of the perverted trios. He completely fucking changed. This is where, well, everyone kind of says, God damn, this is literally Issei's glow up entirely. He didn't look that bad in mostly his first year because he had brownish hair and goldenish brown eyes. And of course, girls didn't think it was that bad. But of course, they hated his perverted acts. But my man glow up so fast that literally he looked like to be a 21-year-old or something. He also kind of looks to be, just having already a job, being rich or something. And people are just thinking all this shit because mostly Issei has like the best fucking glow ups ever. This is where, well, they don't really judge mostly Masui or Murahama's kind of glow up because they kind of change entirely. their personality change and other things, but yeah, they're no longer perverts. One of them is way too scientist to kind of understand too much, while the other one is too much of a brute. Well, not really brute. Mostly, he's too much of like a very like fighter kind of expert because he always just kind of like fighting. And he does get in trouble in the school, not for his pervert antics, but mostly for the fact that he starts kind of fights. Not on a daily basis, but when people kind of push Motohama. Because Motohama, he doesn't fight because he thinks it's kind of useless and boring. But of course, when anyone pushes his friend, Matsui jumps in and beats the shit out of them pretty hard. This is where, well, mostly people are kind of confused. But mostly Issei, his glow up is amazing. And he kind of looks like somewhat of a bad boy, but yeah. Mostly his kind of theme because of his hair color. But this is where, well, Issei goes to sit down, mostly just behind mostly Matsui. And this is where, well, mostly he kind of just like, mostly kind of shake his friend's hand, mostly Motohama's. Because mostly Motohama's that's kind of respectful person. He does like shake people's hands, that people that he respects and other things. And Motohama just kind of just give him a kind of like, mostly slap on the hand and kind of like they do some kind of hand gesture, but yeah. And this is where, well, Issei kind of just sits in the back, and this is where, well, Issei is just kind of like looking at the teacher, or mostly just looking at the board for mostly whatever's happening, but whatever. This is where, well, teacher says, okay, other than that, students, we're going on to the next page. This is where, well, people just say, wait, we didn't even finish the page. This is where, well, the only person that probably did finish the page was Motohama, but Motohama's already like surpassed everything. He's right now reading on something else. This is where, well, mostly, Matsui didn't really care. He already read the page. He's not dumb, but he just doesn't care. He'd rather be watching fights. This is where Issei, he's just there. He does have his like phone having more, well, mostly Wi-Fi, but also his parents did buy him a different phone from the last time because he had kind of an old phone and it did kind of crack, but not the point. He did use it a little bit, just in some pictures, but yeah. But this is where, well, they got him a new phone, kind of new kind of earbuds, because, well, this time they kind of have earbuds in the store, and this is where, well, Issei kind of uses them to hear music. The song that he's right now hearing is basically, Ultra Numb by Mossy Blue. Don't worry about this. I think I already said it in a different video, but not the point. This is where, well, not Ultra Numb, it's basically the song, it's called John Wick by Josh A, and also, and I am Jack Hill, but not the point. But yeah, this is where, well, Issei is hearing onto the song while kind of beating his head, mostly shaking his head a little bit. But of course, where, well, people still, mostly one girl is kind of keeping an eye on Issei because she wasn't actually here last year, but mostly she's here now. And this is where, well, she kind of has, like, what's it called, palish rose blonde hair, and of course, like, these lightish kind of palish blue eyes. This is where, well, she kind of always keeping a glance on Issei because Issei's quite powerful. But yet, his aura is different from mostly yesterday. His aura was actually, what's it called? Surpassing most gods in an instant. But yet, mostly his aura right now is similar to that of a human, a normal human. This is where, well, mostly everyone was looking at the board, and of course, Issei did notice a girl keep staring at him, which Issei kind of grins and just kind of sent a bit of a shadow filter to kind of mess with her. Literally just mess with her in an instant. Because, well, he doesn't like people staring at him, but he knows that mostly his hairstyle, his eye color would definitely make people stare at him. But this is where, well, one of the shadow soldiers, of course, she wasn't really paying attention, but this is where the shadow soldier appears grabbing one of the books. It's an ant. It's basically Beru, but not the point. Beru kind of grabs a book, grabs a pencil, grabs basically everything that's mostly on her desk, but not everything fully. Also grab like this like piece of candy that she had on her kind of desk, just because why the fuck not? And this is where, well, mostly we go into Issei, just kind of, well, mostly seeing that the person stops staring at him and decides to look forward, but decides to look down in an instant because she realized that she doesn't have her stuff. This is where she's confused, even just missing that lollipop, and this is where, well, she's like, wait, where the, huh? Did it drop? This is where she's confused in an instant, but this is where Issei right now gets the book from Beru, and also a lollipop, and this is where Issei puts the lollipop in his mouth, and this is where, well, Issei makes a noise, mostly like a tap on his like desk. This is where, well, most of the girl kind of turns to the side and hearing the noise, and Issei is right now holding the book that she had and also kind of having the lollipop in his mouth. Issei kind of just smirks at her and says, meh. This is where, well, she widened her eyes and not even paying attention to how the fuck Issei did that. This is where, well, Issei kind of is now reading the book. It's literally her diary. She gets angry and annoyed and flustered in an instant and decides to, well, attack him. This is where Issei notices, and of course she was about to like grab the book out of his hand, which she basically put it in the darkness dimension. This is where everyone is confused and what is happening. And this is where, well, when they turn around because they heard noise, but this is where, well, it seems to be nothing happening in the background because Issei made a magic circle really fast. This is where, well, mostly the girl takes the lollipop out of his mostly mouth in an instant, out of frustration, just puts her in her mouth. She didn't realize what the hell she was doing, but this is where, well, Issei gave her back the mostly diary, out of mostly blushing a little bit, and the fact of what she just did, and this is where she takes it back, and this is where she growls at Issei. Issei said, "You don't really know what you just did, right?" This is where, well, she said, "What do you mean?" This is where she realized that she basically put the lollipop, well, mostly the lollipop that mostly Issei had in his mouth, and it wasn't really open. She didn't really eat it. She just kind of had it there, but mostly she realized she just put it in her mouth. It's basically kind of sharing a kiss. Mostly sharing saliva, but not the point. This is where, well, she kind of blushed in an instant, turning red. She still has a lollipop in her mouth, not the point. This is where, well, Issei kind of just looks away in kind of a little bit of embarrassment. This is where, well, it's kind of the first time him showing actually emotion, but not the point. This is where, well, she kind of say, wait, why aren't you kind of staring at us? This is where Issei says, oh, I put a magic barrier, so it kind of doesn't look like you actually got out of from your seat, or me even moving a second or inch. This is where, well, we'll see she sighs and decides to go back, and Issei just kind of destroys the barrier, while most of these students are going on with kind of just talking to each other, either wanting to spread the rumors about Issei's return, but also the fact that he changed entirely, his glow up and other things. People are texting other people from different classrooms, and when the mostly class ended, so many people in the hallways would literally talk about Issei and how his globe is completely different, much more better and different from mostly Matsui and Murahama. This is where, well, Issei is kind of like going to his next class until he gets his hand kind of grabbed and kind of pulled into somewhere else, which mostly he could have easily kind of taken his hand away, but he noticed who exactly it was and decides to just let her kind of just drag them. This is where they get to the janitor's room, and this is where Issei said, so, what do you want? Issei kind of had to kind of crouch down towards her kind of eye level, and this is where she was glaring at Issei, and this is where, well, before she said anything, Issei said, oh, I know what you want to do then. You're that type of girl. You're trying to, well, have fun with me before we go into our next class. This is where, well, her face turns in crimp, well, mostly terrifyingly like red in an instant. This is where, well, her face was just looking away from his eye level, and this is where Issei kind of grins. Of course, he's only teasing her, and this is where, well, he knows that she's actually mostly a different species instead of being human. He can actually feel the falling energy, the fallen angel energy, because it kind of does remind him a little bit of mostly Ashbourne, because Ashbourne used to be a ruler, and when he fell down to be a monarch, or died and became a monarch, it kind of does have the similar same energy, which confused him a little bit, but he doesn't care. He's just a little bit having a grin on his face, teasing her. This is where, well, she looks away and says, no, that's not what I mean. This is where, well, he says, oh, I see. You're basically trying to get the full extent of an actual kiss, because you basically had my first half kiss. This is where, well, she was just completely red entirely, more red and stuttery. This is where, well, Issei kind of like puts his hand around her kind of like waist, and said, Issei kind of pulls her in closer and says, or do you want me to kind of, this is where she says, no, that's not it. This is where she started stuttering out too much, and this is where, well, Issei kind of grins and just kind of just lets go of his hand around her waist and just says, if that's not the case, then why you decide to drag me into the janitor's room? If it's not to have fun, take my full kiss, or, what else do you want? Are you, This is where, well, mostly Issei is just thinking, very teasing her and just kind of making her kind of in suspense, and this is where she's confusing what's going to happen next. She's probably going to turn more red and probably bleed a little bit, and this is where Issei started kind of unbuttoning his shirt, saying, oh well, we will find out after I kind of take off my mostly button up shirt. This is where, well, her face turns red and just kind of had a blood nose and fall down. Issei teased a little bit too much, and this is where someone in his head says, really, partner? We really had to tease her so much that she had a blood nose and entirely passed out. Oh, come on, Drake. It's not my fault. It's so hard not to tease her. Besides, it's not my fault that I have literally a female dragon inside me. Isn't that right, Irina? Or not Irene. This is where, well, mostly the dragon inside him right now kind of blushes a little bit. And this is where Issei said, I know that you've been staring at me when I usually take off my clothes. So, you can't lie about that. This is where, well, mostly the dragon mutes him away. And right now falls back asleep, but yeah. Which, mostly Drake in this one would actually be kind of a female, but yeah. But not the point. This is where, well, Issei said, lazy dragon half the time. Whatever. Or mostly perverted dragon. Lazy or perverted. I thought you were male that one time, and I thought you were just lazy half the time, but you're kind of a perverted dragon. I want to actually meet the white one now that I think about it. But nah, probably the white one is a crazy battle maniac. If that's the case, I'm kicking the shit, but I'm gonna kick him so hard. Well, if it's a her, what would I do? Tease her to death? That would actually be funny. Issei kind of grins, while kind of just seeing if the girl's okay. If you can remember right, her name was Junko Nishima. So where, well, Issei said, hey. She's just right now passed out. That's where he then summons a soldier and just tells her, well, mostly tells the soldier just to protect her. But yeah, be in her shadow. And this is where, well, Issei walks out of the janitor's room. Of course, button up his shirt fully back to normal, so people won't see mostly the muscles underneath his shirt. But he's already kind of guessing that people kind of can see a little bit, but not the point. Because he's fit as hell. But not the point. Issei gets to his next classroom. He was a little bit late, but Issei says, I got lost. Sorry, I didn't know where the fuck I'm going. This is where, well, Issei gets into his classroom while the teacher kind of just talks. And this is where, well, we go into someone kind of getting into class pretty late. After kind of 30 minutes. And this is where, well, she's panting. This is where it's none of the same girl that Issei teased to kind of death, being Junko Nishima. And this is where she's like, sorry, I fell asleep. This is where, well, mostly the teacher says, come in, Junko Nishima. You just get to your seat and take a seat. This is where, well, mostly the teacher says, also, mostly the new student is sitting next to you, or the returned student. She was confused until she sees Issei, and Issei having such a playful kind of grin on his face, which her face kind of turns a little bit red, remembering the last time. This is where she can still feel that she's actually a virgin and not actually kind of done anything. Mostly he didn't do really anything. Kind of just made her fall asleep in a comfortable position while he walks away, but yeah. This is where she sits down, and this is where he says, so, what kind of thoughts you had after the little incident I had? You were probably wanting to have... This is where, well, she looks away entirely and kind of pouting a little bit. Issei kind of grins, kind of seeing her kind of pout being kind of cute. And this is where Issei says, fine, I won't tease you too much. I will actually just be paying attention to something else. Issei gets kind of... He already got his, like, friends' contacts and, of course, like, on Messenger and other things. So, of course, they can actually text him whatever. While mostly, Motohama is actually catching, well, mostly, like, kind of giving some answers and other things, and mostly knowledge and other stuff that mostly he will learn in science, because Issei's right now in science. And Motohama's in a different classroom, even, what's it called, Matsui? But mostly, Matsui is basically sending him, like, fight videos, telling him what kind of fights that he likes, or what kind of boxing or whatever that he likes, or whatever. This is where Issei said, I like any. It doesn't matter. Send me anything. I'm kind of bored. I'm just watching. Well, mostly looking at the teacher most of the time. Mostly said, got it. This is where he sent him just videos of stuff, but yeah. While mostly Motohama just kind of says, dude, you're going to have to pay attention. You have not been here in a while. Right now, he texts at, what's it called? Issei said, oh, but do you think I'm not that smart? I'm smarter than normal. Don't worry, I'll tell you guys later about stuff that I have been gone and the reason why I've been gone. This is where, well, Matsui questioned if he has fought any crazily strong people, just like the one that he fought yesterday. Issei said, oh yes, lots of it. And I will kind of show you my memories. Don't worry, I have an ability to show memories. This is where, well, Matsui kind of is excited to watch, because Pete really likes kind of just watching battles. And if he can learn any battle style that Issei had, he wouldn't mind. But this is where, well, Monohama sighs, but says, sure, I wouldn't mind watching either. This is where, well, Issei grins, and of course decides to go back and hear music. He's hearing the song called Collapse by Netflix, and this is where, I can't remember the lyrics. This is where the first line says, till I collapse, I'll be putting on the gas on the, whatever, not the point. Pretty much he's just hearing music, of course bobbing his head again, kind of falling asleep, but yeah. This is where, well, Junko is kind of seeing Issei kind of fall asleep. Issei does have mostly his earbuds on the table, and of course he knows that no one's going to take it because mostly his shadow will kind of alert him. But this is where, well, Junko kind of takes it a little bit, which now his shadow actually alert him, but he doesn't fully open his eyes. He has them a little bit cracksy, and Junko kind of takes the earbuds and decides to put the earbuds in her ear, just to see what Issei's kind of hearing. This is where she's basically hearing the song Collapse by Netflix, and decides, well, mostly she says, I see. So he's hearing that song. It's not a bad song. Still, what kind of other songs does he hear? This is where she decides to press a button on the kind of earbuds so it can skip the song and go to the next one. The next one is called... So the next song is basically that she goes to play. It's basically called Rumors by mostly Netflix. And of course, his first lyrics it says, she got some nice long hair and you know she's a bad chick. All the boys stare, can't help it cause of habit. Clothes that she wear, short skirt and a jacket, but not the point. Mostly Issei kind of do whisper that into her ear, quietly enough, but this is where, well, mostly the ear that doesn't have the earbud, and this is where, well, her face entirely turns red and looking at Issei. Issei just have a little grin on his face, having one of his eyes open, mostly his, well, amethyst kind of dark purplish amethyst crystal eye, and this is where she's blushing at Issei. Issei said, so... that song kind of fits well with you, doesn't it? This is where, well, her face is entirely red. Issei says, other than that, give me back my headphone, or mostly earbud. Issei managed to get the earbud out of her ear, thanks to mostly one of his shadow soldiers, and decided to put it back into the case that mostly the shadow soldiers also take. This is where, well, Issei has mostly his stuff back. Of course, the song was paused thanks to the fact that he paused it himself by his phone. This is where, well, she was blushing very madly at mostly Issei, just looking away again. Issei can't help but just tease her a lot. Just really can't help. He kind of took an interest in this girl a little bit. The fact that she keeps staring at him, and of course Issei's going to do the same. Not really. He just gotta have his eyes back close. But yeah. This is where, well, she kind of just growls a little bit at how Issei's easily teasing her. But of course, this is where she kind of doesn't mind it. It's hard not to kind of blush around him, but yeah. Because even though he's a student returning, it's kind of hard not to blush around the guy that kind of took an interest on the person. Now, of course, this is where, well, she kind of just says, damn it, how am I falling so easily for him? Damn it, his charms, his good looks, I'm really just losing here. If my other sisters saw this, they would have just kind of teased me even more. Luckily, Rainer and even Valerie isn't here to tease me, or any of my other friends. Thank God they're somewhere else on the mission. This is where, well, she kind of sighs, but yeah. Now, she's only here at the school because she does go to the school, but mostly the fact that also she basically got told by her kind of father/leader to kind of, well, keep an eye on whoever that was with that powerful signature. But yeah, because mostly when Issei left, he didn't really lower down his magic until he realized to do that. But yeah, this is where, well, we go into mostly the kind of we're kind of like leaving. This is where, well, people are kind of leaving, but yeah, no one did hear mostly Issei singing towards mostly Junko and Shima because Issei did make that same barrier. But this is where we go into Issei walking out of the classroom, but this is where someone kind of comes up to him, mostly a guy with blondish hair and like bluish eyes, being smaller than Issei because, yeah, of course he looks kind of handsome, not much, but yeah, from Issei's kind of POV. And this is where, well, people say, is that Kiba Yuta? This is where guys glare at Kiba, and this is where other girls kind of just have blushes on their face. Before Kiba can actually go up to mostly Issei, Issei was actually right next to Junko and kind of just talking to her. Because Issei realized if he talks to this guy, people would literally think that he's gay. Which mostly he wanted to just avoid that because he's not gay. But yeah, he just doesn't really have that many interests in, except for just teasing Junko. Which Issei does a little bit. Just talking to her. Just normally. This is where, when Kiba wanted to kind of talk to him, Issei just ignored him entirely. People were confused what was happening, but when people saw Kiba, Issei and Junko kind of talking, or mostly just a one-sided talk, kind of. They couldn't really tell if Junko was blushing or not because she had her face away from Issei most of the time. But people were just shocked and dumbfounded. Girls were almost crushed. Their dreams were literally crushed to kind of get a date with Issei. But yeah, little do they not know that their dreams are already crushed in the wild go, but not the point. This is where, well, we go into mostly Issei kind of sighing a little bit. This is where, well, Junko looks at him confusedly and says, "Why are you sighing?" "Oh, that pretty boy named, I don't remember. Still, I didn't really want to be mistaken as being gay, so that's why I talked to you in an instant. Then again, I still just want to hear your beautiful voice half the time. And you just talking. So that's why I just talked to you. Then you're the most bearable to talk to." "Well, I wouldn't say bearable. You're quite interesting to talk to. Because you've been just looking away from me. Which is saddened me so much. It hurts my feelings, the fact that girl doesn't want to look at me." This is where, well, she kind of just snores and says, "Yeah, right. I don't want to look at you." This is where, well, he just says, "Huh. So you would not look over here if I did this." This is where, well, mostly Junko's feels mostly an arm kind of wrap around her, but luckily there's no one around, so of course this is where, well, Junko's face turns around, red in an instant, but angry somewhat. And this is where, well, she knows that Issei was unbuttoning his shirt. This is where Issei said, "You wouldn't mind me kind of taking off my, well, mostly button-up shirt off of me and kind of showing you something interesting, really?" This is where, well, her face turned red, and this is where a little bit more blood was kind of falling down until Issei kind of let go of her. But of course, not making her fall down to the ground, but mostly keeping her stand up by holding her hand. And this is where Issei says, "Well, I'll be going then." Beautiful. This is where, well, Issei kind of kissed her kind of hand, and well, mostly at the back of her hand, and decided to walk away. Her face was now in a very terrifying amounts of red. It looked like she was sick. Very sick, but it wasn't the fact. This is where, well, Issei gets back to his, well, gets to the next classes and kind of still hearing music, but yeah, he's hearing the song called "I'm a Monster" by, what's it called, the god of, well, I'm a Monster by God Mode and whatever how you say that. And I don't need no liquor. So yeah, let me kind of go with Issei kind of getting to his next classes, but yeah. Issei was kind of followed from the whole day by either Kiba or even Kuniko, or some other people keeping an eye on him. But Issei was quite annoyed with the fact with these people kind of keeping an eye on him. Now, he kept an eye on them when they left him alone. Like, he used his shadows to literally keep an eye on them. Like, if his enemies want to keep an eye on him, then he would keep an eye on them. Uno reverse card, motherfucker. But yeah. When Issei was mostly, when it was the end of the day, he saw Matsui Murahama, and of course his shadows returned back to his body. Of course, kind of alerting him and what is happening. It seems a red-haired devil wants to be, well, telling him to be in her barrage. Issei isn't going in anyone's barrage because he is way too powerful. He can probably destroy anyone, probably some mouse or whatever. He doesn't even know that much about the supernatural, but he doesn't care. Doesn't work well. Also, Junko was keeping an eye on him way too much. But of course, just let the shadows just still be with her. Just so he can one day just kind of tease her so hard by kind of changing the shadow, mostly himself and the shadow shoulder, and kind of be in her room just to tease her so hard that she probably will have dreams about this. This is where, well, Issei thought about that being funny, but then thought of it being kind of stupid at the same time. He would think of something else to kind of tease her more. But saw mostly his two friends and decided to walk towards him. This is where, well, he says, "Yo, guys." This is where, well, both of them looks at mostly Issei and says, "Issei." This is where, well, both of them said. This is where, well, Monohama says, "How was your classes?" "Boring as hell, not gonna lie. But it was pretty easy to, well, know all the knowledge, since I'm already smarter than half of them. The only entertaining part was the fact that I could tease Junko way too much. She's quite cute." This is where Issei said, with a very teasing tone, while mostly Monohama mostly just looks at each other and says, "You really like her, don't you?" Issei said, "Huh? Oh, I just like to tease her too much." This is where, well, Issei said, "So, what are you guys going to do?" Matsui says, "I'm gonna go hit the gym or something, but I heard that you wanted to show us your memory." "Oh yeah, right. I'll show you my memories." Monohama says, "I was going just home to just go study more, or kind of go see if I can make more chemicals that might help me in battle." This is where, well, He says, sure, but first, my memories. This is where Issei makes a magic barrier around him appears. Right now, looking like it's nothing there, but this is where, well, Issei showed him his memories. This is where, well, both Murahama and Mas were just dumbstruck at the multiple battles that Issei has been in. Issei either has been fighting against people with daggers, a great sword, or even the fact that he can rise up an army from the undead. Literally, he has the power to do that. And he has an army just behind him, underneath him. At any case, any possible chance, anyone wants to attack him, he can just summon out that army and beat the shit out of them. This is where, well, they're just dumbstruck. They basically call his friend a one-man army, because literally that's what he is. He doesn't need anyone else's help. He literally is just a one-man army. And then an army of dragons that he can summon out any time from different dimensions. This is where, well, to help him out, this is where, well, they said, oh, hell no, Issei, what the fuck, how are you this broken? But yeah, we can't sense that much magic from you. He says, I'm suppressing it. And not gonna lie, it's quite hard. Not that easy. Well, it's easy, but not that difficult. But not the point. I'm suppressing it. Don't worry about that. Besides, just tell me if anyone's giving you trouble, guys. I'll beat the shit out of them. It doesn't matter whatever faction they're from. I'll fight them right now, throw hands and beat the crap out of them. This is where both of them switch up and kind of just smiles at Issei. Because mostly Issei is not telling a lie. He will kick the shit out of anyone. But that's not the point. This is where the barrier disappears, and of course they start to kind of walk away. Of course, kind of leaving to go do what they wanted to do. Well, Issei saw mostly a blondish hair kind of walking towards a bridge, and Issei couldn't resist not to tease her. But yeah, of course Issei decides to kind of follow her and appear right behind her. This is where Issei says, yo. This is where the girl almost jumped out of her kind of skin and say, huh? And this is where she bursted out 2 wings, and this is where, well, she then puts them back in an instant being embarrassed. And this is where, well, Issei said, interesting. Issei did use Shadow Exchange, so that's why he kind of appear really fast. Well, not Shadow Exchange, he actually kind of appeared really fast during his speed, but yeah. This is where, well, she sighs, she's like, she's kind of breathing out way too hard. Like, you fucking bastard. You scared the heck out of me. You really scared the wings. This is where they scare the wings out of you. I mean, that is true. This is where, well, mostly she growls at Issei. And this is where Issei said, what? I couldn't resist. When I saw you, I couldn't really resist myself from not scaring you. You're too damn cute when you actually get scared and frightened a little bit. This is where, oh, Issei licks his lips a little bit. And this is where, well, she becomes a little bit red. Kind of looking at his lips a little bit. This is where she looks away, but yeah. Issei says, oh, I see. So you want a full kiss, don't you? This is where Issei leans down towards mostly her eye level. And this is where, well, she whined her eyes and blushed even more and didn't know what to do. This is where, well, she wanted to but couldn't do it at the same time. She's just blushing. This is where Issei said, oh, you don't? Okay, well, I'll be going then. Issei was about to walk away, like he was about to get up his head, until she basically grabbed his face and kissed him in an instant, and then run away in an instant really fast and just kind of used her wings to fly away after a while, just so no one saw her do that. Issei kind of grins a little bit, just kind of the fact that he got someone to kiss him without mostly kind of just the girl kind of didn't hesitate after a while. This is where, well, mostly his dragon inside his head said, really? You got another girl into your harem? He says, what harem? I don't know what you're talking about, dragon. This is where, well, the dragon inside him sighs and says, really? You can just play it off like you don't have a harem? Please. You do kind of have a harem. They're not in just this dimension, but you can probably bring it to the dimension. Oh, don't worry about that. If I want to, I would, but right now, not. Issei kind of just starts walking away, but this is where I'm actually going to end it off for part 1 of this redo. Part 2 will be whenever, but yeah, I'm actually not following the same kind of original story. If you people want me to kind of go on with the original story, just kind of comment of the part of where I last left it off. If you don't want me to go on with the original, just say redo 2. So yeah, redo part 2, don't worry about that or whatever. But other than that, bye, see you, and I'll be leaving. So, bye-bye.